My wealthy wife can read minds, and I had no clue. I even criticized her behind her back a year and a half ago. To fulfill her grandfather's last wish, Darling married me, her childhood betrothed. We agreed to divorce after a year so she could elope with her angel Ethan. Yet, when Ethan learned she had married me, he left the country in a huff, without giving her a chance to explain. Seeing this breathtaking queen, I resolved to win her over. Little did I know, less than 6 months later, Victoria's grandfather passed away, and she immediately called Ethan back. As I drove them, I witnessed Victoria, usually the epitome of a cold goddess, dance joyfully in the hallway before we even set off. At the airport, I encountered Victoria's angel for the first time. He was slender, fair-skinned, and incredibly handsome, which annoyed me to no end. "Sincere, come help Eddie with his suitcase," Darling commanded in her usual cool tone. Accustomed to her orders, I numbly grabbed the suitcase and put it in the trunk. As I drove the top-of-the-line S680 with my expert skills, Victoria and Ethan had their chance to pour their hearts out in the back seat. "Eddie, I've kept my distance from him all year. We're innocent." "I've been waiting for you to marry me," Victoria said, shedding her icy demeanor to become the girl next door. As I drove along the airport highway, I couldn't deny the pang of discomfort. Ethan replied, "Victoria, I misunderstood you. Don't worry, I'll make you happy." Their whispers filled the car, but the soundproofing was too good, and I heard everything. I was speechless. At least wait until I'm not around to be so affectionate. The world is going downhill. I took a deep breath, frustrated, and stepped on the gas to overtake another car. A green-plated electric car merged from the right lane, and we collided. As I stabilized the car, the other driver inexplicably accelerated, and the next thing I knew, the world spun. After the crash, I blacked out. When I came to, I was in the driver's seat. Victoria was trapped in the back, and Ethan stood a distance away, detached. Thankfully, with the help of the police, we were freed, and none of us were seriously hurt. This incident made me realize something. This woman earns over $40 million a year. Even though the company and stocks aren't mine, the profits from this year are marital property. If we divorce, I could get at least $2 billion. With that money, why would I grovel? Even with the current market downturn, a 4% return on a large bank deposit yields $80 million a year. Thinking this, I looked at Victoria, feeling delighted. I planned for our divorce and my $2 billion settlement. I imagined buying a large estate in the countryside and hiring university students for work, enjoying the fruits of my quiet life. Victoria glanced at me, puzzled, as she heard my thoughts despite my silence. Unaware, I glared at her and said, "Victoria, I'm your legitimate husband. You think you can be with Ethan? No way." In my mind, I urged her to divorce me soon and throw her money at my face. Though Ethan wasn't innocent either, he was the one who secretly visited her grandfather. Exacerbating his condition, I knew she'd think I was slandering him. Ethan frowned and moved to put his arm around Victoria, but she pushed him away, causing him to stumble. Normally, she'd rush to console him, but instead she smiled at me and said, "You're right. I'm still married. I'll be careful." She called an ambulance for Ethan and sent her assistant with him. Ethan and I were dumbfounded. This wasn't how the story was supposed to go. Afterwards, Victoria and I got into another car to head home. All the way, I couldn't figure it out. I thought, this woman must have hit her head. As long as I'm here, she and Ethan can never get back together. So why has she suddenly changed her mind after insisting on a divorce? I slowly turned my head to glance at Victoria. To my surprise, she had a mischievous smile on her face, her lively eyes seemingly saying, "Keep on trying." No, this was intolerable. I said, "Aren't you going to call and check if Ethan is still in one piece? If he's missing an arm or a leg, I might just have to celebrate." "Ah ha ha ha." Victoria didn't answer but called her assistant instead. She then said nonchalantly, "It's nothing serious, just soft tissue bruising. Honey, let's head home first." I thought, what did she just call me? Honey? Is my performance not convincing enough, or am I not making myself clear? Clearing my throat, I said, "Just look at Ethan, he's disgusting. As long as I don't agree to a divorce, you two can't be together." Victoria's exquisite face now bore a meaningful smile as she said, "All right, I'll listen to you, honey. I'll keep my distance from him in the future, and I won't divorce you either." I was bewildered, utterly confused. I thought, weren't you clamoring for a divorce every day before? You should be honest. You're a businesswoman, one of the top 10 entrepreneurs in the country. You can't go back on your word. You said you'd divorce me when Ethan came back. And what about your $2 billion? Hurry up and crush me with it, then let me pack up and leave. My brain was overheating from trying to make sense of it all. Suddenly a fragrant breeze drew near as Victoria hugged my arm and asked, "Honey, what do you want for dinner tonight? Should we eat first, or do you want to eat me first?" I thought, this woman must be possessed by a fox spirit. How did she suddenly change so much? Wasn't she supposed to be a cold, aloof beauty? Her calling me honey is giving me osteoporosis. No, something was definitely off. I must not be acting well enough. I should reflect on this. After all, as a villain actor worth $2 billion, I should be more convincing, making people grit their teeth in hatred. Once we got home, I made an excuse to slip into the bathroom, claiming I needed a shower. Victoria instructed the housekeeper to prepare dinner. The cold water from the shower head poured down, chilling me to the bone. I still couldn't figure out how the plot had reversed so suddenly. Victoria asked, "Darling, are you done with your shower? You usually finish in 5 minutes, but it's been 40 minutes today." Her voice came from outside the door, sounding like a death knell, making the hair on my body stand on end. I thought, something's wrong. I need to think fast. I can't end up dead without even getting the breakup fee. The bathroom door slid open, and a delicate hand entered the scene first. Victoria walked in gracefully, making my nose itch. I thought, this is fatal. What kind of good wife enters the bathroom wearing just a white shirt? No, she's got black stockings on too. That's not the point. Isn't this entrapment? As the villain in a pure love drama, any suggestive scene would surely lead to my downfall. She must be trying to seduce me and then accuse me of marital coercion. Yes, that must be it. Then she wouldn't have to pay me the $2 billion breakup fee, and I couldn't go after youthful, lively, cute college girls. Hold on, Sincere. Don't give up the entire forest for one tree. Just as I was plotting my escape, the phone rang. Instantly, I got into character, glaring at Victoria with anger. I snapped, "Why is someone calling at home? Don't they know we need to rest?" Hang up immediately. Inside, I was overjoyed. I thought, this call is perfectly timed. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed it was Ethan. "Go ahead, answer it, and then go enjoy your time together. Just leave me alone at home." Victoria hesitated for a couple of seconds before answering the call. In the quiet bathroom, I could hear Ethan's pitiful voice from the other end. He said, "Victoria, my wound hurts. I'm so lonely at the hospital. Can you come keep me company?" I thought, I must admit, Ethan is quite good at this. His tea-making skills are unparalleled. It's truly pitiful to hear. Hurry up and go find your angel. Right now, go Pikachu. No, Victoria. Victoria's eyebrows furrowed slightly as she seemed to ponder. I thought, no, I need to add fuel to the fire. I frowned and said, "What time is it now? What's Ethan calling you for? Does he think I'm dead? Tell him to buzz off." The other end might have heard my voice, and there was a pause before a weak voice responded, "Sincere, sorry for bothering you. You guys carry on. I can manage alone. Even if it's a bit cold tonight, it's no big deal, just a little flu or fever." I thought, excellent. Ethan has the potential to be a sickly male protagonist, matching my role perfectly. I continued to curse and play the part of the villainous supporting character, epitomizing the role of breaking up true love couples. Victoria's furrowed brows gradually smoothed out, and then she came closer to me. Looking at the skin as smooth as jelly in front of me, even in a typical Asian drama. I've seen my fair share of stunning women, but I was still taken aback for that 1 second. And in that cursed second of distraction, I thought, damn, my first kiss is gone. I lamented, It's over. My first kiss is gone. Victoria, that sly woman, played the part of a vixen flawlessly. Then she placed a delicate finger on my lips and said, "Don't speak yet." Victoria picked up her phone and transformed instantly, like a magician, into a cold, aloof beauty with a poker face. She said, "Mr. Ethan, my honey and I are busy in the bathroom. The hospital has already arranged for caretakers to look after you. If needed, we can send more people over." Ethan on the other end coughed several times, whether from being choked or from poor health, I didn't know. Then his weak, desperate voice came through. "Victoria, it was my fault back then. You're being so cold now. You must be punishing me. I'll accept it all, but please remember, only when mountains crumble and the earth and sky unite will I part from you." Hearing Ethan's words, I was almost moved. "Victoria, are you really this heartless? Go take care of him." I pushed Victoria's hand away and said, "Stay away from me. Don't try to play hard to get. I've lost count of how many girlfriends I've had over the years. Your little tricks won't work on me." Victoria gave me a mischievous glance and said into the phone, "Take care of yourself, Mr. Ethan. My honey and I have important things to do." Without waiting for a response, she hung up the phone. She then approached me with a seductive look in her eyes and said, "So you think you're a master at winning over women? Well, now that no one is interrupting us, let's see what you've got." Thinking to myself, don't think I don't know. You act like an ice queen normally but are so passionate today. Something's off. You must be trying to trap me, then accuse me of marital coercion to get that $1 billion divorce settlement. I kept my cool and said, "Well done, woman. You've successfully caught my attention. Close your eyes and I'll show you what it means to be a master at seduction." Victoria smiled and closed her eyes. I quickly dodged out of the bathroom, threw on some clothes and headed downstairs to the dining room. The housekeeper saw me and smiled. "Young master, you finished your bath. You can call for young madam and we can start dinner." I nodded and sat expressionlessly at the table. Soon Victoria, dressed in her nightgown, walked slowly down the stairs and sat across from me. She said, "Let's eat. Honey, you've lost weight recently. You need to eat more." The housekeeper was momentarily stunned by Victoria's demeanor, then tactfully bowed her head and opened the warming covers on the table. Seeing the dishes, I couldn't help but curse internally. What was this? Stir-fried kidneys, bullwhip ginseng soup, steamed oysters, scrambled eggs with chives, sea cucumber noodle stew. Was she trying to bleed me dry? I'm still a virgin. Where am I supposed to vent all this at night? Victoria, a true daughter of the elite, is as cunning and ruthless as she is deep-thinking. From the moment I stepped back into the house, she's been plotting against me. I need to stay vigilant. In the end, I only ate the scrambled eggs with chives as I saw Victoria's malicious smile again. I retreated to the bedroom, locked the door, and lay on the bed. As my mood calmed, I couldn't help but think of Victoria's seductive manner earlier. My mind began to wander, dreaming of Victoria in all sorts of scenarios throughout the night. The next morning, as I opened the door, I saw Victoria with dark circles under her eyes. Serves her right for losing sleep. I said, "Let's visit Ethan at the hospital to see if he's still alive." Victoria glanced at me and with a cold huff said, "There's a charity gala tonight, remember to come. Ethan will be there too." I initially planned to refuse, giving them some alone time, but my brain quickly switched to overdrive. I thought, letting them be alone isn't enough. Tonight, I'll make Victoria lose face at the charity gala, and then you'll divorce me. Victoria stopped suddenly and said, "Remember, you must come." I thought, I have to go, to thoroughly trample Ethan underfoot. Then Victoria's maternal instincts will kick in, and she'll side with Ethan, announcing our divorce in public. Time flew by, and I arrived at the hotel where the charity gala was held, wearing sportswear. All the men were in suits, and the women in various evening dresses. My sporty look stood out, but it didn't matter. Many people knew me as the cheap husband of the heiress Victoria. Before long, Victoria appeared, dressed to the nines, with the dazzling Ethan in tow. They were a golden couple, made for each other. The host said, Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The charity gala is about to begin. As the host made the announcement, the room quieted down. After introducing the VIPs in attendance, the host smiled and said, "Tonight we have added a fun segment to the charity gala, a prize quiz. Everyone can raise their hands to answer. For every correct answer, a donation of goes to charity. For every wrong answer." I thought, great, this is a perfect chance to embarrass Victoria. I'll make sure she loses face and becomes utterly disappointed in me. The host saw everyone looking at him and started reading the questions. The first question, what is the most expensive watch in the world? This was easy. I quickly raised my hand. The host saw me and immediately responded, "Now let's have Mr. Sincere answer the question," handing the microphone to me. I shouted, "A local watch from South Carolina." The audience burst into laughter. The host chuckled and said, "Wrong answer, that's a $50,000 donation." I shot a playful glance at Victoria and moved to the front, ready to answer the next question. The next question, what is the largest island in the world? Before the host finished, I pressed down Ethan's rising hand beside me and walked straight into the spotlight, facing the VIPs in the front row. I shouted, "Company leadership." Ethan, dissatisfied, walked to Victoria and said, "Victoria, Sincere is really active today, isn't he? Not giving anyone else a chance to answer." I raised an eyebrow, provocatively looking at both Victoria and Ethan. The spotlight conveniently shone on them. Whether intentional or not, the host joked, "At first glance, Miss Victoria and Mr. Ethan are a perfect match. So, let me ask another question. What river separates the cowherd and the weaver girl?" Ethan raised his hand with a slight smile, gentlemanly, but I quickly dashed over, grabbed the microphone and answered. "Personality differences." Ethan gritted his teeth and sneered, "Sincere, aren't you afraid of being laughed at for your random answers?" Compared to Ethan's annoyance, Victoria looked at me with an expressionless face. I thought to myself, tonight I'll make a fool out of both of you, and tomorrow's headlines will do the rest. The so-called board will consider the company's interests and push for a divorce between Victoria and me. Yes, that's the plan. The atmosphere was lively, with everyone watching me like a circus act. I didn't mind. With a $2 billion divorce settlement, what freedom can compare to financial freedom? The host cleared his throat twice and the room quieted down. He said, "Next question, fill in the blanks, pain and flow." This time no one raised their hand, everyone watched my performance. I zipped my tracksuit up to my chin and calmly said, "Painless flow." The host was speechless. "It's pain and flow, Mr. Sincere, please pay attention to the question." Next, the host, looking at the increasing donation amount, was also fired up and loudly said, "Big something something?" This question was meant for me. I smirked, seeing everyone's expectant eyes, took the microphone with a blank expression, and said without a pause, "Bigfoot, big shorts, big pig's knuckle, big hoodie, and a big flock of swallows." Victoria and the other VIPs were amused, and the room was filled with laughter. I thought, "Ha! With my reckless behavior, Victoria must be embarrassed now." After the laughter subsided, the host continued, "Hi something, no something." As Ethan raised his hand to prevent me from snatching the answer, he shouted, "Hi pillow." Just as he said the first word, I slapped his chin upward, forcing his mouth shut. Amidst the surprised looks of a few others, I slowly took over the microphone, smiled slightly, and calmly said, "The teacher taught this in class. It's high definition, no watermark." The host awkwardly took over. "Mr. Sincere loves to joke. Mr. Sincere must be deliberately answering wrong to donate more, right?" I thought, I'm not deliberately donating. I'm just deliberately trying to annoy Victoria. The host calmly added another to the donations and continued, "Big what, thick what?" I confidently opened my mouth to say, "My big." But Victoria immediately covered my mouth and dragged me away, apparently fearing I'd continue to embarrass myself. Halfway through the banquet, Victoria suddenly became very clingy, not letting me leave her side. If I, the main player, don't leave, how can Ethan, the blonde, have a chance? Finally, Ethan couldn't hold back any longer and approached us, saying, "Victoria, let's chat on the balcony over there." Victoria glanced at him and said, "Mr. Ethan, if you have something to say, you can say it here." I thought Victoria must be trying to maintain her image as a virtuous wife and mother in front of me. I need to create an opportunity for them to be alone. I cleared my throat and said, "Victoria, maybe Mr. Ethan has something important to tell you. Come with me, I know a quiet place." I led them to a small meeting room, pushed Victoria in, and Ethan followed. I thoughtfully closed the door for them, leaving a small gap. I must be prepared for anything. Lately, Victoria's been acting strange, seemingly realizing my intentions and not wanting a divorce. With them alone in a room, emotions running high, things might happen. I'm betting that at least Ethan won't be able to control himself, and then I can secretly take photos as evidence for a divorce lawsuit. If the woman is at fault, maybe I can get even more. With a fortune of $3 billion on the table, albeit not earned through the most upright means, there's some truth to the saying. Without resorting to all means, how can one amass such wealth? As long as the law isn't directly involved, grab what you can, earn what you can. It's not the fear of losing that should worry you. It's the fear of being out of the game. Take a gamble, and maybe your old bike will turn into a motorcycle. Take another, and that motorcycle might become a Range Rover. No one gets rich without some unexpected windfalls, and no horse gets fat without grazing at night. Whose child cries every day? Whose gambler loses every day? Sure enough, the moment Ethan stepped in, he began making his move. He said, "Victoria, you know my feelings for you are as clear as day and night." Victoria stopped Ethan from continuing with his sappy words, saying, "Mr. Ethan, if you're here just to talk about old times, we can end this now." From the crack in the door, I could see Ethan realizing that playing the love card wasn't working, so he switched gears. "Victoria, you might not know this, but Sincere has another woman outside. He's using your money to fool around with her." Saying this, Ethan handed his phone to Victoria, seemingly with some photos or videos on it. I thought to myself, though I wish Ethan had evidence proving my escapades. The problem is I'm still a novice in this area. How could I be out gallivanting? Never mind, to ensure a smooth divorce, I'll take this hit. I'll carry this burden. "Victoria." Ethan's voice suddenly grew louder, and she glared at Ethan, saying, "My honey is under a lot of stress usually. Going to the bar for a drink and some fun is normal. Besides, he's worked hard all his life. What's wrong with hiring a few models?" Ethan frowned and said, "It's not just that, Victoria. Look at this video. He's getting cozy with a girl in a booth. Who behaves like that?" I thought Ethan might be onto something. Mainly, my darling wouldn't let me touch her, so I went to the bar to relax. But at most, it was just chatting and holding hands. All right, I admit, I also touched some thighs. Victoria paused for 2 seconds, her eyes glancing towards the door. I quickly stepped aside to avoid being seen. I thought, that was close. Almost got caught by Victoria. But wait, why am I afraid of her? I'm here to spy. I'm morally corrupt and ethically bankrupt. With that thought, I leaned back to peek into the room. Just then, I locked eyes with Victoria's squinting gaze. Her expressive eyes seemed to say, "I'll deal with you when we get back." Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Ethan pour some powder into 2 glasses, then quickly fill them halfway with red wine. He said, "Victoria, since you're so determined, I won't force you. Let's drink this wine and call it even." After saying this, Ethan picked up the 2 glasses laced with the unknown powder and handed one to Victoria. I thought, damn, Ethan is really playing dirty, using drugs. Well done. Whether or not you drink it, as long as things get heated here and something happens, I'll record a little video and file for divorce. Asking for $40 million wouldn't be too much, right? Ha. From my angle, I could only see their profiles. I noticed Victoria's brows furrowed as she handed her glass back to Ethan. She said, "Let's switch glasses." Ethan's lips curled into a barely noticeable smile, and without hesitation, swapped glasses with Victoria. She brought the glass to her lips, her fiery red lips about to touch the drugged wine. My heart was bursting with joy. I thought, Ethan must have done this dirty trick many times. Both glasses were drugged. Whatever happens, he won't lose out. Besides, I've heard this stuff can spice things up. Victoria immediately stopped her motion to drink, and then, with a slip of her hand, the wine glass fell to the floor, shattering. She looked at the broken glass with a hint of guilt and glanced at Ethan. She said, "Sorry, my hand slipped. It seems our past is as broken as this glass, impossible to mend." I thought, what a cunning move. Victoria must have done it on purpose. This heartless woman wouldn't even drink a last glass with her first love angel. Just a bit more, and I would have been $1 million richer. Ethan was stunned for a moment, then gritted his teeth, seemingly making a decision, and downed his glass of red wine in one go. He said with clenched teeth, "Victoria, do you know how many years I've liked you? Even when your family opposed us, I still went forward like a moth to a flame. Finally, that old man is gone, and you back out? No, I won't agree." Victoria was caught off guard by Ethan's sudden change and stood there in a daze. Then she snorted coldly and said, "Don't think I don't know what you're after. Your Ethan Group's debt ratio is over 80% and is on the brink of bankruptcy. If you marry into the Victoria family now, not only could you clear your debts, but you could also gradually take over our family assets. You think I don't know about your chaotic private life? I've refused you several times already, and yet you still push your luck. Let me make it clear today. You're 1,000 times, no, 10,000 times worse than sincere. I love him and will never divorce him. I saw with my own eyes, this woman just. I didn't drink that drugged wine at all. Why are you talking nonsense? I don't have any real feelings for you. Let's get divorced quickly. I don't want the $4 billion, just give me the original $2 billion and that's enough." Victoria turned her head and prepared to leave. At this moment, Ethan was flushed, his eyes bloodshot. I could see it clearly through the crack in the door. Unfortunately, Victoria, who was turning to leave, didn't notice. I quickly took out my phone to record. Sure enough, 2 seconds later, Ethan suddenly dashed behind Victoria, pulling a silk scarf from his suit pocket and covering her nose and mouth. With his other arm, he held her, dragging her further into the room. Victoria's eyes widened, her hands flailing wildly. The room was dimly lit and I couldn't see her expression clearly, but I imagined she must be desperate. I thought, even if they aren't both willing, it's still $2 billion. The next second, I gritted my teeth and stomped my foot. $2 billion is nothing. I can't stand seeing a woman being forced. I kicked the door open and shouted, "Stop!" Then I quickly charged in, delivering a sidekick. Luckily, I was wearing sportswear, otherwise, it would have torn. I kicked Ethan a meter away, and he stared at me in shock, saying, "How are you here? Just now you were." I glanced at Victoria, her eyes were hazy. I went over and slapped her, and she instantly came to her senses, touching her stinging cheek and glaring at me. I clenched one fist and pointed at Ethan with the other, shouting, "Bold scoundrel! How dare you molest a respectable woman in broad daylight?" Victoria remarked, "It's nighttime now." Her comment made me feel quite embarrassed. But it's no big deal, the most embarrassed one should be Ethan. People outside heard the noise and came in. Victoria had already tidied her clothes within seconds and calmly called the police. During her call, the onlookers seemed to understand the situation. Some smart bigwigs quickly analyzed it and collectively condemned Ethan and his family's company. My heroic act of saving the damsel now seemed a bit redundant. Suddenly, a small hand pulled me out. I looked closely and realized it was my own darling wife. We walked in silence. It was clear Victoria was angry. I thought, this woman is like a gas cylinder. Better not ignite her now. That slap was too satisfying, and I didn't hold back. Now, looking closely, the handprint was already red and swollen. I hope she doesn't hold it against me later. No, I did it to save her, to wake her from the drug's influence. The law states that causing non-lethal harm while rescuing someone doesn't carry legal responsibility. Even if it goes to court, I'm in the right. Victoria snorted and said, "You enjoyed hitting me, didn't you?" I was speechless. I thought, How does she know what I'm thinking? But in this situation, I'm in the right. As the saying goes, with evidence, take it to court. With reason but no evidence, call the police. With neither, go to the media. I'm in the right with evidence, so what am I afraid of? I said, how can you say that? You don't know how dangerous it was. If I didn't wake you up quickly, you might have started tearing your clothes off. I vividly described the scene. Victoria coldly replied, I was drugged, not given an aphrodisiac. Why would I tear my clothes? And did you enjoy watching from the door? I was speechless again. How could she accuse me like that? I thought, damn, she knew I was peeking. No, honesty leads to leniency, resistance leads to punishment. I shakily started to defend myself. Listen, let me explain. I was just passing by, saw a crack in the door, got curious and peeked. I happened to see that scene and rushed in heroically. If you're not grateful, fine. Had I known, I wouldn't have saved you. After I finished, I turned my head to look out the window, feeling a bit dejected. I thought, no, I have to control myself. Think of sad things, or I'll laugh. Right, my $2 billion is gone. The endless waves of beautiful college students are GG1. The carefree and leisurely countryside life is gone. A boo-hoo. A wave of sorrow washed over me. How much sorrow can one have? Like a river flowing east. The more I thought about it, the worse I felt. My nose tingled and tears almost fell. Victoria's voice softened. All right, don't be upset. I wronged you, okay? I'll make it up to you tonight. Hearing the word compensate, I perked up instantly and quickly said, I don't want much, just one small target. Victoria bit her lip, then her expression changed, a smile in her eyes. Something even more valuable than that. You'll be satisfied. I thought, she's not trying to get away with it, is she? She doesn't look like a good person. When I got home, I quickly retreated to my small bedroom. After freshening up, I began to plan my grand future. I started listing the things I needed to prepare for my next trip to the countryside in my phone's notes. Suddenly, a fragrant breeze wafted through the room, followed by a soft embrace on my back. I turned my head to see Victoria, who, without me noticing, had slipped into a short bathrobe and was now leaning against me. It was perfectly balanced. Any more would be too much. Any less would drive a man crazy. She said, we've been married for so long and haven't consummated our marriage yet. Victoria whispered into my left ear. I quickly turned off my phone screen and said, What are you trying to do? We can talk about anything between us as a couple. No need to get physical. Victoria snorted and said, If you don't cooperate, I'll sue you, saying you tried to force me. Then you'll face at least 3 years. I hurriedly pushed Victoria away and said, You're turning things upside down. Victoria took a small step and sat on the arm of the sofa. She said, Who do you think people will believe, you or me? I thought to myself, I'm doomed. Looks like tonight's going to be a disaster. How am I supposed to get a divorce now? Well, a real man knows when to yield. This humiliation will pass. Tomorrow I'll go to the hospital and see if there's a way to make myself infertile. Then I'll take her for a checkup too. Victoria will definitely want a divorce then. With that thought, I reluctantly gave in to her for a night of passion. The next day I searched online for common male contraceptive methods. I found out that aside from a vasectomy, there are male contraceptive pills, but they aren't available domestically. I'd have to buy imported ones. I quickly asked a friend to help me get some. In the meantime, I kept finding excuses to avoid direct confrontations with Victoria. 2 weeks later, the medication finally arrived. Since getting a taste, Victoria had been demanding 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night. Who could handle that? I'd been repeatedly refusing her advances, but I suspected she'd go ballistic if I turned her down again tonight. Holding the pills, I prepared to take them, thinking, hee, 1 pill lasts 3 months, and this box is enough for 2 years. If she can't get pregnant in 2 years, she'll think there's something wrong with me. Then, a hospital checkup. Ha, $2 billion you can't escape. The next second, a female voice suddenly called out, Honey, what are you doing? Startled, I dropped the pills on the floor and hurriedly bent down to pick them up. She asked, "What are you looking for on the floor, honey? Is it this?" Victoria bent over and handed me something. I looked at the 2 red lines on the pregnancy test in front of me and fell into deep thought. I asked, "What is this?" Victoria helped me up and said, "It's normal you don't understand. This is a pregnancy test and 2 lines mean pregnant." I was so shocked I stepped back, feeling like I stepped on something. After a quick thought, I realized it was probably my pill, which now seemed useless. I was overwhelmed with despair. I thought, I'm screwed. The duck that was almost in my mouth has flown away. I should have seen this coming. It's all because of Victoria. She acted like an aloof, celibate beauty. But once she let loose, she was like a wild horse. Morning, noon, and night, she drained me dry. It would be a miracle if she didn't get pregnant. The next day, I took Victoria to a prenatal checkup. Before long, it was our turn to go in. The results were all normal. Seizing the opportunity, I quickly asked the doctor, "Doctor, can we still be intimate during pregnancy?" The doctor gave me a stern look and said, "Not during the first and last 3 months of pregnancy." With a face full of despair, I asked, "So that means the middle 4 months are okay?" The female doctor stood up, glaring at me, and said, "I have to say something. Even though your wife is very beautiful, she's pregnant. What are you thinking?" I was instantly relieved and turned to Victoria, saying, "See, the doctor says we can't." Victoria pouted and said, "Oh, all right, I won't push you, but we'll settle this in the fall. You owe me one."